Hello one and all, and welcome to my next video. This video is I will be talking about your statistics. Statistics, there are generally, how many statistics? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 statistics in your character. 7 statistics, and each of the statistics affect a different portion of your character towards your combat effectiveness and your fight strategy. I will be focusing on statistics, and every time you level up, each time you level up, you have to put 5 points into whichever format or mixture of statistics you want to put yourself into. Now, each of these statistics are focused towards different classes and different races. I cannot go in depth into what each race and each class, because they affect each class and each race differently. I will, however, give a general ideology on how each statistic works, based on my limited knowledge, of course. Starting off with strength. Strength is your basic hitting power. It affects how hard you hit and how much damage you do when you do eventually hit. It's only affects your base damage, and for some characters it's good to keep this high, and for some characters it's not good to keep this high, depending on your race and your class. I will be talking more depth into which focus classes follow, but that is that about strength. Fortitude affects your character's overall health. It means every extra point you put into fortitude, it puts an extra point into your character's HP values, which means you basically get to take more damage. Again, it depends on character to character, depending what type of fight style you want to follow. Endurance affects your bonus overall to stamina. It works like health, it works the same way. Extra points into endurance increases your base overall stamina. And health and endurance at low levels, you do tend to see a big difference, but at higher levels you don't get to see that much of a difference. For example, you start off at level 1, and at level 1 you have 100 health, 100 stamina, so every extra point gives you an extra probably 1 to 10 or probably 50. So a change from 100 to 110 is a big noticeable difference from a low level 1. However, for a level 70 who has probably 2000 to 3000, an extra 10 points in health is not as well felt. So levels do matter when you are talking about your statistics, because at low levels certain stats tend to be more valued, at high levels they aren't. Intelligence increases the damage output for offensive skills, not just caster offensive skills, but all offensive skills. So it increases the base damage that a skill does. However, it also increases the base healing that a healer does with their skills, as well as resistance to the base attack. Some skills do base attack, and some skills do base attack and status effect. Intelligence only affects your resistance to the base attack. Willpower, and I'll go into the second part after willpower. Willpower determines a character's overall resistance to status effects placed on them by another player, which means if you are attacked with a certain stat that gives poison or weakness, you can resist it with a high enough willpower. However, both intelligence and willpower have a cap. They do not make you immune to being affected, if you understand what I'm trying to get at. What I'm trying to say is you can max it up to 100, but it's not going to mean that you are not going to ever get hit. You would eventually get hit, just not as much as you would be hit if your stat was at 0. Perception affects your ability to not be hit by ranged attacks, and finesse affects your ability to not be hit by melee attacks. Personally, I would say, and this is what I've noticed with many people, they put perception as the very last skill to even consider putting anything in, because guns are, well, it's a lot more effective for you just not to be hit by a gun and you do have more of a fighting chance to dodge bullets and dodge being in a person's line of fire. However, finesse, you do not have that much of a chance because you are pretty much close to them, so every time you hit them, they get a chance to hit you back. However, so that's why finesse tends to be ranked a lot higher than perception. Also, when you're in a fight, you do not basically run straight for them. You do tend to move side to side and make yourself a harder target. Most range fighters tend to fight the same way, which is they basically run back and keep shooting forward. It's a very effective strategy because it keeps them away from the person attacking them and it keeps them in their sights. And while they are keeping that distance, they get to keep a good sight on them and keep shooting them, which is why you do not run in a straight line. If you run side to side, it makes it a lot different. It makes a lot of a difference. That means they have to start aiming, and well, again, depending on who you're fighting, it may or may not be harder. And with that, I hope that this base introduction into the statistics has been helpful. As always, JD Dynamo, nice hearing from you, and I hope to hear from you even more.